we have to do it. We have to educate ourselves, educate the staff on the farms, to work with the data, to understand how the production is going, not only from the traditional point of view where people discuss and cooperate through talking to each other, but through some other tools and means of information distribution.
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Greiner, your host for today's Swine podcast. And with me today, I have Bogdan Samoylenko from Cloud Farms. Hello, how are you today, Bogdan?
Hello, Laura. Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, thank you for being on today. Before we start a podcast, I would like for you to spend just a moment introducing yourself to our audience so they're a little bit more familiar with you.
Great. Yes. So I've been working in Cloud Farms for 2.5 years now. And in Cloud Farms, I'm working with sales and also with technical support. So in sales, I help in Denmark, where I live and work and where we have a lot of clients. Also, I help in some countries in Europe and also in Asia. So I'm specifically responsible, for example, for Vietnamese market. So this is my sales part of my work. And then in technical support, I help our clients and our new clients also with onboarding, education, anything has to do with our product, how it functions. I help with that as well.
Perfect.
Yes, and maybe a few words of what I did before. I was working in the premix company, as we call it in Denmark. It's a producer of mineral and vitamin and additives mix. So I was a nutritionist, and I worked in the export department of that company. So we were also shipping premixes all over the world, among other countries of Eastern Europe, where I'm from. So I've been working there as a nutritionist and as a feed consultant. Before that, I studied also in Denmark. I studied agro-environmental management. I was interested in connection between agriculture and environmental regulations. It was a very interesting field because in Denmark, the regulations are quite tough, but they're also quite advanced, and they are looking into what actually producers they need, how can they survive with their production among those regulations, and how the society can benefit having this much of production in such a small country. So that was very interesting, and I studied there. I didn't work with that area that much, but I still try to be connected to pigs, because before the education, I worked on a farm here in Denmark in different areas, in the gestation area, but I was also very good in the farrowing stable. So I was responsible for farrowing unit in quite a big, by Danish standards, farm. Yeah. So I was working there for 5 years.
So you've had quite a range of experiences over time, particularly in the swine industry. And I think our conversation today actually will be very interesting then, based on some of those experiences and the topic we were going to talk about. Our focus today is really on technology and how we implement that into the barns. And with some of your experiences, both working on a farm and then also doing the nutrition aspect and working with producers that way, I'm sure you've seen a variety of challenges, if you will, with technology. And so what I think I would like to start with here is mainly just a conversation around some of that technology and how we implement. And so maybe let's start with some of the challenges that you see or you have seen when you're trying to encourage people to use some of our data management technology, some of our technology that requires internet or some type of data management. And so I'm going to turn that over to you and let you talk a little bit about what some of those challenges have been or that you've seen.
Right. Well, there are quite few, but maybe we'll concentrate on something like implementation and how fast it is and why people hesitate. Of course, it's my job to persuade them to use the technology and try to get as much as possible from it. But this hesitation part, is very interesting for me. It's coming maybe from the conservatism of the working environment. It's coming from a different generation where people didn't have those tools, and they're quite new for them. So they got used to different type of knowledge distribution. They like to talk to each other. They like to discuss the production results and how the things are going on the farm. They like to talk more than see it on the screen. So this is one of the aspects that I see. But their life is changing around us. People are changing. Their working habits are also changing, and the industry is not in a great place. We have a lot of challenges around us, financial, from the society point of view, from the labor availability point of view. So the technology, in my opinion, will help us a lot. So we don't have to hesitate. We have to implement and educate ourselves, educate the workers on the farm to use it and to get as much as possible, as fast as possible, because we have the tools. The tools are nice. The products are nice that on the market. I'm not talking about only mine, just anything that is available. It is there.
Absolutely. One of the conversations we've had a lot recently is this, as you mentioned, the generational differences. And honestly, it's across everything. It's just not in pigs, right? My parents didn't have computers. They didn't have those things growing up. We had them. My children have completely different types of computers and cell phones and so forth. And as we think about this next generation that's stepping into the workforce, one of the things that we find is getting them excited about working in the swine industry is access to that type of technology and in being able to kind of play with the cool toys, if you will. But what are some of the things that you see in relationship to that new generation or that younger generation in the barns? What are they looking for in terms of that technology specifically?
Okay, I can say two things. First of all, I will confirm what you're saying, because this is exactly what I see when we implement new digital tools in the place where they didn't have any, or they had very obsolete ones. People are excited, definitely. I can say that because they share their excitement, even when we don't ask about that. And like what I have very good experience is working with very different cultures, right? So in some countries, people don't express their excitement and anything they like. They just don't do, because it's not very common. In some countries, maybe where you're from, it's very common to describe if they're excited about anything, right? So if I go to the countries somewhere in other parts of the world where people are more um, like more shy maybe or something, and if they say that they like this technology, if they say that they are excited, so I understand it as a valid argument, and I have seen that young people and also old people, they are also excited. We don't have to underestimate that factor, because for them it's also nice to go to work and have some good tools. It's like a good piece of equipment sometimes we give them when we implement digital tools. So that was just to confirm what you are saying. Yeah, and then another part, what I want to say, I think it's that it's quite easy compared to what we expect. So the things go very fast for different generations. But what is the difference? The striking difference, and it's sometimes difficult to maybe to grasp and to understand by the older generation, that younger people these days, they have a lot of digital tools around them, and they have information from so many sources, and they like that, and they feel comfortable having those sources, having digital tools around them. They're very, very comfortable. They know how to operate. If you give them the app, the digital platform, they will figure out very fast what they need exactly now, what they will need during their work. They will grasp it very fast. So that's what I see also very often.
Absolutely. They're very familiar with many different ways of handling information and data.
Yeah, I can give you an example because I worked quite long time ago, 12 years ago on the farm. We did have some digital tools, but it was an old program, and only one person had access to that out of 5 on the farm and could do something. And then, of course, the management, they had access to that. They could bring and get some reports out of it. But the other people that worked on the farm, they didn't have anything to do with it. Now, when I talk to the same farm, when I talk to the same people, they are more engaged. They know what's going on. The knowledge is distributed much faster. They understand what is going on. It's like an environment where everyone knows about everything at the same time, and it brings the results. They discuss these things. They are very aware of trends, the production levels, which are average, which are normal, which are very good, and it's the same place. But the time changed. People changed. Their habits in using digital tools also changed.
One of the things we hear a lot is the conversation around information overload, and how, especially in production companies, we are probably data heavy, meaning we have lots of data generated, but we don't really have a way to analyze it in a way that's condensed and easy to follow. And sometimes when we introduce new technology, there is that hesitation of, it's just one more thing to create data that I don't have time to manage. And so how do you recommend producers make those decisions as to what technology to implement and what technology maybe they don't need at the moment?
Personally, I prefer and I suggest very often to our new clients, start slow and start with something simple. So if they have structure of the farm in our system, I prefer them starting very, very slow. Because if anyway, no matter how good the technology is, we are still dealing with people, and people need time in order to adjust and get used to some tools. And no matter how good those tools are, we need some time to get used to them. Like with any other tools, also physical tools. So it's better to start slow, and then I suggest to implement another more complicated thing, another one, and then they are there basically. So it works fine, and I suggest the same to any other producer with any other digital tool. Start slow, then you will build up and make it more complex. And I believe in power of people to be creative and figure out these digital tools very fast. And that's what I see. When they need to see some dashboards, they will find how they're working, and they will build beautiful graphs and tables and distribute among their workers very fast if they need to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. Start slow maybe especially for a farm that is just getting Wi-Fi into their system. It's one program or it's one piece, and then build as you get comfortable with those things. I think that's a great recommendation for our listeners. Um, how about the technology that we have, the data management technology that we talk about with platforms and so forth, but we also have technology that, while it's data management, it's more at the barn level. For example, it's a handheld that says, hey, the sow has started farrowing and it's been 20 minutes and you need to go check her. Or there's a checklist for the day for the farm activities and people need to log in and check off what's been done. Are there preferences as to where they start in that technology base?
I think here the understanding will help how good and how useful these technologies are. Because anyway, the people will discuss the same things. They will put them on the paper somewhere. They will create work for themselves. I'm thinking about my farm, what we are doing. So we are putting it on the paper. This paper was lost somewhere. It was a very unsustainable system, right? And having it somewhere available all the time, I think that would ease things up and made our life much easier. Yeah, but I saw that people learned that there are always some less enthusiastic people, but there are always more enthusiastic people about the technology and digital tools. And for the producers, I would suggest just give them possibility to explore, listen to their suggestions to those more active users. Because they're excited, they will find something interesting in any tool. And that I've seen also. So they start to create very nice, as we talk about this work lists. They have good ideas and they create them very fast, and they will find out. So yeah, I think it's easy to implement, and you'll find people who will help the producer. Yeah.
So when you meet with a producer and you're talking to them about technology and some of the options that they have for implementation of that technology, what is the one or two items that a producer really wants to see out of their technology? What is there a specific, I need to look at annual reports. Is there, access through multiple people? What are kind of a couple of common things that they want to see out of whatever technology is being introduced into the farm?
I think there are different types of producers and different types of clients. For many of them, their accessibility to their data is very important. So they like to see it. They like the speed with which they can access and analyze their data. Just on the basic level, they need the report. We'll give them the report very fast. It will be there. For some producers, some farmers, the security is very important. They don't like putting anything on the paper because it can be lost. It can be wrongly put in the system from the paper. That we've seen, and also people can make mistakes deliberately or not, but they can still do. With the reliable digital tool, with the information and is put on the phone somewhere on a handheld device, and you know who is doing that, works fine. It eliminates a lot of mistakes, and many producers they really value this part. They can see very fast, okay, that's very easy to implement and it's very easy to control, and they do it. So for some it's this part that is important.
Yeah. What about the producer that's worried about the typical glitches that we see with electronics? So It's a conversation I've heard before as well. My barn is ran by a computer, right? My
Yeah,
ventilation is ran by a computer. My feed system is ran by a computer. My software is ran by a computer for all of my data. And we all know sometimes our phone needs a restart or our computer doesn't want to go
right,
correctly. And so they're worried about having all of that essentially out of their control, where they could control a piece of paper or they can control a knob on a ventilation unit. How do you help those producers transition into this aspect of technology implementation?
well, of course some things can happen, but here I think we focus too much on bad things and forget how many good things it brings. And among those few glitches in that technology, there were many days that everything ran smoothly. And actually, a lot of people, they understand this. And it's only few, from my experience, that have this concern about what if it's broken. But then I say to that, like, but what if your email is broken? It's the same thing. You have everything there in that email, and it's connected to so many services. But we accepted that email is working all the time, but it's not working all the time. Sometimes something happens even in the email provider, in the email box. So here we're focusing, and those people, they're focusing on few instances where it didn't actually work, but most of the time it works. You can get a lot of it, a lot of from it.
When you think about technology, we always talk about it being a time saver or a human labor saver. Is there a number we can put on that as to how much time or labor that may potentially save a farm? Have you ever done any numbers to look at that?
We did some calculations, but I'm not familiar with them. But it's just my experience that gives me this power to say, yes, it will save time. Because I remember how it's going on the farm. Like with that paper, I have to go with that paper. I have to go to that computer. That computer in that room, it was washed. The floor was washed around with high pressure. I did it, and it was so dangerous that something could happen actually, and the information would just be lost. And I remember that the data backup that we had, it was not updated regularly, so that glitch could potentially bring some problems and extra work. And we had something not connected to washing around this place and switching it off, but something similar. The data was lost because the technology was old.
That's a great point. And I've seen it the opposite side. I've worked with technology before where I thought somebody was pushing the button, and you get done at the end of the day and the data is missing when you go to upload it into the computer. But I think, and I will say that was easily 7 years ago when I
Yeah,
can remember that specific event happening. And so I think today when we look at the technology, there's a lot of stop points essentially where if data is not entered correctly, it's going to notify you, or as you're entering in things to the system, there's going to be notifications of something doesn't make sense, or right, maybe a date is switched around or something of that nature. And
yeah. It's very easy to create such a system, and see. Uh, you can easily set up, and we have it like the data validation point. So if you're entering something wrong, you get just notification. Imagine that notification can save a lot of work. It seems like a small thing, but actually it's not, because if we look for 1 year, let's say, and you have this system working for you, so someone is checked and rechecked if they enter anything wrong. If anything wrongly put. And we save few animals only for 1 year in a quite big or medium, small sow unit. If we say only few animals, because of that, we save a lot of time and also a lot of money. Yeah. So that's also, it has to be, it's very difficult to put in the calculation. Of course, maybe someone did it. Maybe it's possible to create that calculation, but it's very easy to imagine that this will help. So if some mistakes with the wrong farrowings, weanings, they are eliminated. And then on the top of that, for example, medicine registration. If there we have a system in place where people are notified and they go to the same animal, or they don't give medicine twice, or to wrong animal, then it also saves a lot of money, a lot of time. Yeah. But the story about the paper and going to the computer, and this is where you save time, that's real. That's what also saves a lot of money and a lot of time.
It's very real. I can remember a day very vividly where I put a clipboard on the top of a sow stall after about 2 hours of weighing sows, and when I turned around, it had fallen and the pigs had eaten all of my data.
Exactly. Yeah. Something like that.
So there's always those fears, right? And those will always happen. You know, and I think the other piece that we really haven't addressed too much here is really about, and we talked a little bit about the labor and the systems being able to communicate with staff on, you know, wind, sow, sparrow, and so forth. But one of the pieces that I think many producers are struggling with on the labor side is the introduction of people that are not like you and I around animals for a long period of time in our lives. They're coming in with very little animal husbandry experience, very little knowledge, and these systems kind of help them through that process, right? As you mentioned, they'll notify you if you've treated the wrong animal, or you could use it to scan the ID of the animal before you treat, and it confirms what's there, and it makes it easier for those that maybe aren't as well trained in some of the aspects of swine production to be effective teammates and individuals within the industry.
Right, and I can confirm that. And another aspect to what you just said is that the processes, the industry is becoming very complex, and we have to know a lot of things. So anyone that works on a farm now, they need to know something about the nutrition, water consumption of the animal, ventilation, something about the climate, about the health status of the animal, any other processes, and it's quite a lot of information. And before, in time before any digital technology, this was distributed among people because they were talking more among themselves. And in some countries where there is a large community of farmers and the industry is strong, it's still going on like that. People have knowledge groups, they exchange information. The institutions, educational institutions are producing very well-prepared staff, but in some countries it's not the case, and the industry is growing, for example, and they need this staff, but people don't know that much, as in those countries with a strong tradition of pig production. And you have to be more active to introduce that knowledge. So for those digital tools, they will come handy, and you can use them. But it's the case. I'm talking about Denmark, for example. It's a country that had a very developed pig production for many years. They have some outstanding genetics, and the tradition is here. The knowledge is distributed among people. But in any other country, for example, in Asia, where I also work, where the industry is changing and there are more integrators, big producers. They need people. They have to educate them, and this is very often what they ask: how can I notify my workers if they do something or they need to do it? They are asking even something like, do you have artificial intelligence telling them what to do? Because recently someone told me that we don't have managers enough to supervise those people. So we need some kind of notification system so the knowledge is distributed very fast, because they don't know what they're doing, but the farms are growing around them, and they need more people, and those people they need to know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, very good point. Well, our time is about done. And so what I would like to do before we jump over to those couple of questions that I ask everyone is for you to give a little summary of what you would like our audience to take away from our conversation today around technology.
I think I would like to say that they have to be open-minded, calm and chill about it, and try things out, and they will figure out, and they will definitely know what to do with those new digital tools, because we have underestimate how used we are to any digital tools. We have a lot of things that even the person that thinks that he or she is not good with technologies is already using a lot of digital tools. So just try it. We have to do it. We have to educate ourselves, educate the staff on the farms, to work with the data, to understand how the production is going. Not only from the traditional point of view where people discuss and cooperate through talking to each other, but through some other tools and means of information distribution. We have to look sometimes at the graph and table and understand why this is calculated that way, and but a lot of people have fun with that, so it's just a matter to try it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you for all of that.
It's time for our famous three.
An animal nutrition technology company offering innovative products and new applications for the swine industry. The combination of AB Vista enzymes, technical services, and nutrition expertise provides the industry with new opportunities to further improve production efficiencies. Fiber is receiving renewed interest due to its influence on the microbiome, and AB Vista has brought together research experts to discuss the industry's knowledge of fiber functionality and to introduce a Stimbiotic, targeted to improve fiber digestion. To request access, contact NAM at abvista.com. That's NAM at abvista.com.
Curious to discover if you can manage your animal data and teams work with the touch of a finger? Some of the best and largest pig farm holdings worldwide use cloud farms to collect and analyze data like never before. How? With the most advanced mobile app to collect data accurately and super fast. For breeding, farrowing, weaning, and finishing. Also, this is the easiest way to assign tasks to your team and motivate to work more efficiently. You instantly understand what gets done on time and what doesn't. So yes, you can manage your animal data with the touch of a finger.
And as we move forward, Bogdan, what I would like for you to do is maybe answer a couple of questions that we ask all of our guest speakers. The first one I'd like to ask you is, do you have a resource that you would recommend based on today's conversation?
Well, it's complicated because I live and work in such different countries. So in Denmark is one thing, one resource, very local one, and internationally I use this site. It's very small, Pig 333. I read that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Well, Bogdan, the other thing I would like to ask you is if you could recommend something that's not related to pig. Is there something you're reading today that's not related to pigs that you would recommend to our listeners?
Oh, definitely. I read many different things, but I like history and I like to travel. And right now I'm reading this book. It's called The Dawn of Everything: A New History of Humanity. And it's basically about the prehistorical times when people lived in big cities, but they didn't have what we will call like state formation. So I think it's a very fascinating story that people could coordinate, cooperate, and build very, very interesting things, big cities without any authority, and how they function. So that's very interesting. And I like to travel. I like to visit also big cities. It's interesting. Yeah.
Very fascinating work for you, or very fascinating reading, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Wonderful. Well, the last question I like to ask is really around if you can think of someone in your life that you define as successful, what's a trait that they possess that's allowed them to be successful?
Well, I know quite a few people, and I notice they have something in common. So they are successful, I think, and what they have in common is that they are very good in networking, and they are very good to other people. I think no matter how good and successful your company is, how good and successful your product is, this part is essential, and that I've seen in many people that I consider successful. So they're like people person, and these people that they remember when they met you and what you were talking about after many years. That's a trait that I notice in successful people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're very, very engaged, aren't they?
Yeah, I think engaged in other people,
Yes.
even though they do totally different things. They work with technology or
Mhm.
with totally different area, not involving people, but they are people. People's
Yes. It
people. Yeah.
makes a large difference in people's lives when other people remember you. Like you said, years later, it's very impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, again, I do want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure visiting with you and talking about technology, and hopefully this gives our listeners a couple of ideas on how to approach technology, how to think about it, certainly different generational views of technology and using it and incorporating it into their workplace. So again, for our listeners today, this is Bogdan Samoylenko with Cloud Farms. Thank you again, Bogdan.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks.